What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the battle for the semifinals of Season 7 of the CPC, and we are up against Scoot once again. We have to rematch, which is really unfortunate, but either way, I mean, that's how it goes. After the first round, the entire other conference was knocked out by our conference, so I mean, that was just kind of pretty cool to see, with my good buddy Evan snagging a big win as well. So yeah, I mean, we're going to have to replay. Anybody that we face will be somebody we've already faced this season, and so that being said, I'm going to have to change things up pretty significantly if I don't want them to just have a very easy go of things. But before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button as it helps us out a lot, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. But anyway, on to the team. Like I said, we are up against Scoot, and his team once again consists of Clefable, Azumarill, Mamoswine, Greninja, Tornadus, Eye, Mega Sceptile, Snorlax, Bronzong, Emboar, Rotom, and Oricorio. I mean, he did not change his team at all since we last faced, and I believe, no, yeah, I definitely have not changed my team either. So yeah, the first go around was kind of a spike stack war that he ended up winning in the sense of he got more hazards, but I still ended up luckily taking the game as Raichu and Skarmory came through clutch in the end. But considering he knows what my initial strategy is going to be, I'm changing things up drastically in this game, and so this is something that Jolt and I have talked about for a while. Like, I mean, all the previous points about our previous matchup stand, where Mamoswine's annoying, so is Greninja, Torn, Mega Sceptile, like, it's just an annoying matchup. But talking with Jolt, he and I have determined that we each play a very different style. I mean, if for those of you that watched our attempt at a TMT pool run, you saw how different our styles are. And we figured out that the styles that we play, I look at a matchup and I'm like, okay, which of my mons destroy him? I play to win. I play to have my team beat his. The way Joel looks at a matchup, he looks at it and is like, okay, what mons of his are a problem for me? So Jolt plays not to lose. And I mean, like, no style is more effective than the other, but it's just a very different approach to any given matchup. Like, Jolt plays not to lose, and I go straight for the jugular. Like, I go for the win. So considering I went for the win last time, I am going to try to take a completely different approach. Now, I've never actually done this before. This is a team that is completely different from any other team that I've used before, because I am taking Jolt's approach of playing like not to lose, of not letting him beat me as opposed to me beat him. I know that that kind of sounds like weird, like, okay, of course I'm going to beat him if he's not beating me, but like, you guys get what I mean. Like, I'm playing to not let any mon of his break me. Like, this is going to go, I'm going for a team that is insanely difficult to break and can hopefully put me in a position where I can go to the championship. So have I had an experience with this type of team? Nope. This is my first time doing it, but there's no time like the present to try things out. The first mon that I'm going to be bringing is a bulky Roost Taunt Nature's Madness Tapu Koko, a Stallbreaker Tapu Koko with Volt Switch and the Fairy Z. No, you are not seeing things. I am actually bringing Fairy Z with Nature's Madness, and that's not even an error on my part. Like, I am intentionally bringing Fairy Z with Nature's Madness as opposed to Tapunium Z, because once Scoot has seen my set, he can switch in Mega Sceptile completely for free on my Tapu Koko with the set that I currently have. However, with Nature's Madness, with Z Nature's Madness, it does just enough to OHKO a marginally bulky Mega Sceptile after rocks with the Z Nature's Madness. So the idea of this Tapu Koko is to kind of lure in the Sceptile, make it think that, okay, it can switch in whenever it wants, it can switch in for free, and only have to worry about taunt for my Tapu Koko. But then I bust out the Twinkle Tackle, which admittedly is only 100 base power, but I mean, still, that is just enough to get the knockout on his Mega Sceptile. So that's really what I'm going for with the set. Like, his team is very bulky, very annoying. This Tapu Koko is designed to get momentum, also taunt, roost, and just kind of be a general nuisance for him to deal with. The speed is just enough to 20 speed Creep Torn, just kind of standard right there, or just like creeping his creep, so he might catch me considering I did this exact same thing last time, but I don't know. I'm just kind of going for it because I like the bulk that it gives me, and I like the attack number that the investment in my special attack gives me, so I'm just kind of rolling with it. If he catches me, he catches me. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, 248 HP and then the rest into my special attack. Just very bulky, and get used to seeing 248 HP because you're going to be seeing it a lot on this team. The second 248 is going to be my Mega Sceptile answer in Tangrowth. Now, this is very, very similar to the Tangrowth that I brought last time that we played, except this one's a little bit more specially bulky, has a little bit more speed, and has Leaf Storm over Rock Tomb. Now, this Tangrowth, like I said, its role has not changed. It's designed to switch in and take on Mega Sceptile so that it's not something that I have to worry about with the rest of my team. Sludge Bomb doing a significant chunk. I mean, I could have HPS, but I like Sludge Bomb's poison chance against the resist that he might bring in. Giga Drain plus Leaf Storm. I mean, I probably could go with HP Ice over Giga Drain, but in this case, like, I just like the fact that I could potentially stay in on like a non-banded Mamoswine's Icicle Crash and Giga Drain back health, or stay in on Greninja, that type of thing. Leaf Storm is there over, I believe it was Rock Tomb, because Azumarill could be something that Scoot tries to bring to change things up. Well, this Tangrowth might be able to outspeed depending on how much speed, that's why I have a crap load of speed in this thing, but Giga Drain to a very bulky Azumarill does not kill it, so it does have the chance to set up on my Tangrowth, which is kind of weird. But then, well, it's kind of weird to think about like an Azumarill setting up on a Tangrowth, but if I run Leaf Storm, then all of a sudden Azumarill cannot set up on my Tangrowth. I can just Leaf Storm, blow that thing way back, and nothing on his team likes taking a Leaf Storm, and then Knockoff is just nice coverage as well. The defense, or special defense, is enough to not be 2-hit KO'd from modest Dragon Pulse after Rocks and Spikes, so I went a little bit more because the special defense that I had in our last matchup did not quite cut it, so I went with a little bit more and then a crap load of speed to creep Azumarill. Next up is going to be a defensive Skarmory, very, very similar to the one I had last week, except in this game I have Defog over Spikes because, I mean, there's obviously a Charizard at the end of it, and Skarmory, same thing as it did last game. I know I already said that, but I mean, I'm kind of reusing a couple Mons just because the defensive synergy, in addition to the other bulk that I'm bringing, is so good. But yeah, this thing takes on Mamo, takes on Bronzong. Those things are not real issues for me to deal with at all because I have the Skarmory, and then just Roost, Brave Bird, Defog, Whirlwind. Brave Bird I'm bringing because it's nicer to hit Emboar on the potential switch-in, hit Mega Sceptile if it comes to that, hit Mamoswine still for a decent chunk of damage, and Clefable it'll still hit decently hard, as well as Azumarill and Greninja, so they can't just come in on Iron Head. Brave Bird will do a significant chunk, and then I still have Whirlwind in case he tries to bring like a Cosmic Clef. Next up is going to be actually my win con for this game, and I use win con very loosely because Uxie is kind of as close as it gets to a win con with this team, because even though I'm bringing a crap load of bulk, the goal with this team is to wear down his team enough to where Uxie can come in, its checks are gone, Calm Mind up, and then try to Psy Shock and Giga Drain through his team. Heal Bell is there so that I'm able to take like a Toxic from a Bronzong or something like that, just be able to take that while I Calm Mind up, Heal Bell off, and then potentially finish that off. Now I won't be 1v1ing a Bronzong, like I need Bronzong very low, but just Heal Bell gives this very bulky team a lot of support because Scoot kind of likes to Toxic my bulky Mons, or just Toxic my team in general, so Heal Bell not only helps the Uxie sweep, but it helps the rest of my team as well, so that I can more recklessly switch into Toxics or take a Toxic in exchange for knocking a Mon out, as it isn't the end of the world. Uxie can always just Heal Bell that away, and boom, my Mon is ready to go again. But the speed on Uxie is for something speed creeping a modest Nidoking. Just kind of thought that would be the speed tier that he would try to hit if he was trying to speed creep some stuff. And then the special attack is for a 2-hit KO at +1 on max HP Azumarill after Rocks with Giga Drain. Now, no two ways about it, Uxie doesn't hit hard. Like, 140 investment and this thing only hits 221 special attack. However, its bulk is just enough to be very solid, and solid enough in this matchup to where I'm able to run a decent amount in special attack so that it does a little bit more and just enough to make the calcs significant, so that's kind of what I went for with this Yuxi. Next up is literally the exact same Swampert that I brought last week with, well, not the exact same, I have Toxic over Roar on the Swampert, but still, it's the same Swampert, Stealth Rock, Toxic, Scald, and Protect. I mean, Swampert does what Swampert does. I believe this thing is for Torn. Yeah, I think that's what this Swampert was for. Honestly, I just thought that, you know what, Swampert's got a good matchup, it's a good rocker, let's just roll with it and just kind of copy it and paste. So don't remember exactly what the calc's for. I could go look back at the video, but I'm way too lazy for that. So yeah, Swampert's here again with Protect. Surprise, surprise. And finally, we have a bulky Charizard, because last time he did not really bring anything to take on my Charizard. Like, he brought a Snorlax that was 1v1'd by a bulky variant of Zard. So I'm thinking that he might try to have the same train of thought in this game, where he thinks that just a bulky, thick, fat, like a Rest Talk Snorlax should be able to take on my Charizard. I'm going to try to punish that with a Roost, Earthquake, Flare Blitz, Dragon Dance set, and this also kind of functions as an Emboar check. Like, I can switch in, resist Flare Blitz and Superpower initially before Mega Evolving, and then hopefully outspeed, well, I will outspeed, and Earthquake that thing to knock it out, because if I can get rid of Emboar, then I don't think Scoot has a good way of breaking me. I really don't. I think that my team is solid enough to where he'll have a lot of trouble breaking me, to where it just won't quite be sufficient. So I'm willing to trade Charizard for Emboar if I see that on Team Preview, but also if he has Clefable, Charizard is kind of meant for that as well, so I'll have to be careful around that. But basically, Charizard is my way of breaking his team, getting him to a point where he just does not have the Mons to sufficiently break through the rest of my team. Like, that's Charizard's job, to take something out to where he doesn't have the resources he needs to break my team, and I can just out-bulk him. And yeah, the final 248 HP. The speed is just 20 speed over Modest. Nidoking is, again, that's what I think he'll creep. Maybe he'll try to catch me creeping, throw in a little bit more, whatever. And then the rest is into bulk and attack. And yeah, even though it's bulky, Adamant Charizard is still going to claim lives with Flare Blitz against him. So that is the team, and let's just go ahead and hop right on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that no Mamoswine, so Volt Switch until Mega Sceptile evolves is completely free, like 100%. I can lead with Tapu Koko, and if he leads with Sceptile, well then I'm just going to bust my Z immediately, just to see how that works. But otherwise, if he leads anything else, well, that is a free Volt Switch, and also no Clefable. So I mean, even though I was prepared for it, not having to deal with Clefable is always super, super nice. So that being said, because he doesn't have the ground like I mentioned, I'm going to be leading with my Tapu Koko, and I am going to Volt Switch right off the bat. He is going to lead with his Greninja as I lead with my Tapu Koko, and I know that I can take literally anything except a banded Gunk Shot, so I stay in. I'm going to Volt Switch as he actually ends up catching my Speed Creep and missing a Toxic. Now, Greninja missing a Toxic on Tapu Koko is kind of a theme. He missed one last time that ended up changing the way the battle played out, so really hoping it doesn't necessarily do that in this case, but either way, able to get the Volt Switch off on the Gren, brings it down to its Sash, so once again, he brings a Focus Sash Gren to the matchup, but I'm just going to go straight into my Tangrowth and go for the knockoff, as he has the choice of either getting a Spike Up or Toxicing my Tangrowth. He does choose the latter, and I'm able to knock him out with Knockoff. Now, as I'm immediately up 6-5, and he only has a Toxic on the Tangrowth, that's actually very, very good for him, because a Toxic on Tangrowth is very big, as Mega Sceptile can potentially be a huge issue for my team to deal with. But this also gives him a free switch into his Tornadus, and I'm just like, okay, Torn can blow its Z Hurricane right now, because I mean, like, 100%, this Torn is going to be Z Hurricane. I will be absolutely shocked if it is not. So I'm just going to kind of go into my Uxie, because I can live a Z Hurricane into a Hurricane, figure out what this Torn is. If it's not Z Hurricane, maybe it's Life Orb or something, as he goes straight for the Heat Wave and misses. Now, as it turns out, he is Z Torn, so right off the bat, he's already missed a Toxic and a Heat Wave, so that is not a very good start. But as you saw in the team builder, I have Heal Bell on Uxie. I have the ability to just go for that if I need to on the Koko, like if I need to Heal Bell to Koko at any point. Heat Wave, because he was Z-Torn, would only have done maximum 20% after Lefty's recovery. So now I'm actually going to go back into my Tapu Koko as I'm thinking maybe now he'll blow his Z, but nope, he just goes for the taunt, which is all fair. But I'm just going to go for the Volt Switch as he brings in his Rotom, and that does 23%. So this is a Spadef Rotom or an AV, but I'm going to go straight into my Charizard. Snorlax, even thick fat, cannot take Flare Blitz super well, and I'm just going to Mega Evolve in Flare Blitz. As he did reveal to be Spadef Rotom, I knew that my Charizard would outspeed, and I kind of just wanted to hit something. Now he goes into his Snorlax, and I burn it. So turn 6, he's gotten very, very unlucky. Like, he's missed Toxic, missed Heat Wave, and now I burnt his Snorlax. So yeah, that's just kind of all sorts of unfortunate, but now I'm thinking that this Snorlax probably has the berry as we don't see an item, so I'm just going to go straight into my Swampert, and maybe I can get up my rocks as he goes for a Facade, and that just murks me. So I mean, I probably should have gone to Skarmory as a kind of middle ground play, or as kind of, you know, a direct switch in to Snorlax, but yeah, it turns out burning his Snorlax sucks even more for me, because he actually does not turn out to be a berry, as you can see right there. He doesn't have, his berry did not pop right there, so Snorlax is not a Gluttony Lax, so I'm trying to figure out what this is. But the goal with Swampert was to come in and set up rocks on the Snorlax. If he wanted to go into Bronzong, then I could have scalded that thing, tried to wear it down for Uxie later in the game. But because I burnt the Snorlax, that Facade does a crap load, so now I'm just like, oh crap, well, Swampert's not going to be able to do a whole lot, so I'm just going to go for the Protect, maybe wear out a Facade, wear him down a little bit more with Burn, get my health back with Lefties, and I'm just like, okay, this is rough. Now I'm going to go Skarmory, like I should have in the first place, as he goes into his Rotom and gets me on the double, so it's just like, this is, even though I'm lucking him, like, that burn actually really, really sucked for me, but he's going to go into his Rotom and Volt Switch out as I go into Tapu Koko. I knew that Tapu Koko could take whatever hit from Rotom that it wanted to go for, and now I'm going to try to taunt the Bronzong, as I do think he's going to go for Rock Spin. He does go for Rocks, but it turns out he's Mental Herb, and so I'm just like, oh boy, this is rough. Well, now I'm just going to Volt Switch into my Skarm to try to defog those away ASAP, because I mean, there's nothing Bronzong can do, and if he wanted to go into something, he wanted to go into something that resisted the Volt Switch, then, or was a better matchup against Skarm, well, then I could switch accordingly. Basically, Volt Switch was a no drawback play. If Bronzong stayed in like it did, then Skarmory was free and I could defog, but he actually ends up blowing himself up, and that does 15%, so I'm just like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. That's one less mon that I can defog on, so now I have to be kind of careful, as it looks like the rocks are here to stay. So now he goes into his Rotom once again. I don't want to bother with this thing. I'm just going to go straight into my Swampert, as I'm pretty sure he's going to Volt Switch, and I want to kind of figure out if this thing has HP Grass or not, as Volt Switch, I mean, obviously does nothing to Swampert, and now I'm going to Protect once again, as he does take advantage of that, goes straight into his Sceptile. Honestly, I probably should have just gone for rocks of my own to pressure him, but at the time I was kind of thinking that maybe I can scout for that and pivot around the Rotom, but nah, I should have just gone straight for the Stealth Rock to start putting some switch pressure on him, as Sceptile comes in, and yeah, this thing is very annoying, but luckily my Tangrowth still is at 100%, even though it is toxic. It's still going to be able to come in and take absolutely nothing from the Sceptile. I mean, Energy Ball does 17%. That does nothing, to where, I mean, I can be 2-hit KO'd by Hidden Power from this range, but I'm just going to fire off a Sludge Bomb because I want to get this Sceptile worn down, as Torn comes in, and I do unfortunately poison it. So that really sucks, but as you'll see, it really doesn't end up coming into play, as I'm just going to sack off my Swampert to his Supersonic Sky Strike. I kind of figured he was going to go for it at that point, as there was a no drawback. Actually, I didn't figure, any time that Torn was in where it hadn't used its Z move yet, I figured it was going to use its Z move, so Swampert really had nothing that it could do for the rest of the game, because everything on his team beat it, so I just decided to go Swampert, let that thing go down, and just try to play it out from there. Unfortunately, his Torn is starting to get low. I'm just going to go into my Tapu Koko, and I'm thinking that there is no way he's going to go into his Sceptile hard on Tapu Koko. I know that that's like, I know it's an obvious play to try to predict the Sceptile, but he still has a Spadef Rotom at a good amount of HP. I'm thinking he's going to go straight into that, gives me a free switch in to my Zard, and I can just kill something with Flare Blitz. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for Volt Switch, as fortunately he doesn't go into Mega Sceptile. I would have been in a world of hurt if he did, but luckily he did not. Rotom is in, and now here comes Zard. I'm going to be able to get a free Dragon Dance, as I'm not thinking that this Rotom has T-Wave, and even if it does, well, at +1, I might be able to, well, depending on its investment, I might be able to outspeed at +1, but either way, even if he switches out, which he does, into his Snorlax, I'm going to be at +1. I am going to be able to absolutely demolish the Snorlax, as it was in range without the burn. So very fortunate for me in this case, as now I'm going to be able to get at least 2 kills as he goes into Torn. I mean, he did have an emergency to Charizard at +1 in the Tailwind, as, I mean, without the Tailwind, then Charizard would have just straight up won the game right there, but luckily, well, not luckily, smartly of him, he did bring Tailwind, so this is going to cut Charizard's sweep short, but now all he has left is Rotom and Sceptile, and I still have 5 Mons and a full health Uxie, so now considering Skarmory has nothing that it can do, it's going to get demolished by, I mean, it even gets demolished by a resisted Dragon Pulse. I mean, like, that's, yeah, Skarm's special defense is really, really bad. So yeah, Skarmory is just going to go down there, but what this gives me is a free opportunity to go into my Tangrowth, as I will be able to live 2 Dragon Pulses after Rocks and Poison, and he actually gets a favorable roll for me, so Sludge Bomb is going to be a 2-hit KO, and honestly, it kind of all comes down to this turn. So his Tailwind's gone, finally. I know it says 1 turn, but it's wearing out. Like, this is the last turn of Tailwind. If he goes into Rotom on the Sludge Bomb, then okay, Tangrowth is low, it will take Toxic, but what I can immediately do is pull the switch into Tapu Koko, or I can just sack off my Tangrowth. So I have a couple plays that I could do. So if he goes straight into his, okay, if he goes into Sceptile, or stays in with Sceptile right here and tries to kill off my Tangrowth, but he will not succeed. He won't kill my Tangrowth from this range. I will kill him, and then all that's left is Rotom against the world. I will win the game straight up. If he goes Rotom, as I go for Sludge Bomb, because Sludge Bomb is still my play, like I'm 100% going to go for Sludge Bomb, then what I do is I go straight into Tapu Koko. If he Volt Switches, well, then that's a good play on him. Like, he definitely can do that, and it will do some decent damage to my Tapu Koko. Sceptile should be able to come in and potentially Giga Drain, and it will kind of end up being a Uxie versus the world endgame, where I think a +1 Uxie might be able to take on, well, actually, +1 Uxie will be able to take on his Mega Sceptile and his Rotom, barring some very, or like, interesting techs that could end up biting me in the butt. But if he stays in with Sceptile, I win. If he goes Rotom, then it's kind of a 50-50 of what move is he going to go for, and at that point, I just kind of had to make sure that Sceptile is in range of Uxie or Tangrowth, and I will be able to win the game. Luckily for me, he actually stays in, does not KO the Tangrowth. I'm able to knock that thing out with a Sludge Bomb, and Rotom will not be able to outspeed my Charizard, which is going to be able to come in for free on the double down, live the Rocks hit, and then KO the Rotom with a Flare Blitz, and we are able to win the game 2-0. So that was a very unfortunate game, like, if you look at the sheer amount of hacks, but like, ultimately they really didn't impact the outcome of the game, all things considered. 'Cause I mean, like, they were definitely unfortunate, and they influenced the flow of the game. 'Cause I mean, like, let's be real, getting hacked like that in the, like, 3 times in the first 6 turns definitely takes the mental toll to where you're just like, all right, this game's gonna screw me. But even so I mean, the Heat Wave would have done like maybe 20% to my Uxie at absolute max. The burn actually ended up hurting me more than it hurt him, because I wasn't able to get my Rocks up. And the Toxic really didn't come into play because Koko was never in a situation where I needed it to stall something out. And then, what was the last one? Crap, what was the last one? I'm trying to remember. Oh, and the Poison on Torn. I mean, Torn got blown away by a +1 Flare Blitz. It would have gotten blown away by a Flare Blitz anyway, even if, I think I might have killed 2 Torns right there with that +1 Adamant Flare Blitz. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunate that that's how it unfolded, but I don't necessarily think he had what he needed to break me at the end of the game, and I think Uxie would have been able to take it home. But nonetheless, we do win our semifinals game, so we are going to the championship. Very good game to Scoot, very good season on his part, and I hope you guys will tune in to the championship next week. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.